Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Amanda Forbes and I'm the Executive Director of a nonprofit called Trinity Education. I'm really glad that you're joining me for this lesson because we're going to talk through some important things about designing your first blended learning course. And where I want to begin is with a look at what types of questions you should be asking as you think about designing your first blended learning course. And obviously there are a number of questions you can start with. You can begin by looking at some of your technology constraints, budget, teacher capacities, learner outcomes, so many different questions you can look at. But I want to propose that you start with a more fundamental question, and I want to get there by way of a story. Back in 2014, we started our first blended learning program in a slum community of Nairobi called Soweto. And back then, we designed a course, put it all together on a learning management system, and flew to Kenya and met our learners for the first time. And unfortunately, we had everything designed and packaged before we had met a single Kenyan student. And this was not really to their benefit. We learned a lot in working with them about our learners' needs, about what their goals were, and how to serve them better. And thankfully that experience was not detrimental to our nonprofit's development because over the past several years we've been able to work with partners in many different places in the world and really learn how to be more attuned and attentive to our learners' needs. And so that's what I want to propose as a starting point, that it really is all about the learners. And that is where you need to begin when you're thinking about designing your first blended learning course. So what have we learned about our particular students? And just to give you a little bit of background context, as you could see with some of the places where we've worked, we primarily operate programs in developing countries where students come with different learning needs than students here in the US. And so some of the really important lessons we've learned are around cultural background and understanding the previous education experiences of students. And I've listed a number of things that we'll explore further in this lesson about some of the cultural aspects related to our learners. But this is relevant regardless of where you're working. The US, Africa, Asia, South America doesn't really matter because everybody brings a culture and everyone brings prior learning experiences. So it's really important that you understand your learners, you understand their cultural background, you understand the experiences they've had before with online and face-to-face learning, because this will shape the expectations they bring to the blended learning course. I mentioned culture, and that has been an important aspect for us, but it's also really critical to understand students' learning experiences online and knowing not just have they taken an online course, but what sort of capabilities do they have just using technology, being comfortable Googling for things when they don't know an answer, doing research online, managing their own time and being self-directed in their learning, and familiarity with different types of platforms, whether that's email, that's social media, that's word processing or presentation software, all sorts of things that really give them greater fluency with using online platforms and tools. All these things are going to be valuable for them as they think about transitioning to a blended learning course. So this has been a very brief overview of where you might want to think about starting as you look at designing your first blended learning course. And in the next video, we're going to get into some more practical aspects of designing your first blended learning course. So I'll see you there.